Hello everyone, thank you for coming back to the channel. Today we continue to follow the stormy yet deeply emotional story of single mother Lythieuca and policeman Hung. After months of struggling between career and love, Hung finally let go of the police uniform that had once been his lifelong pride, choosing a completely different path. He accepted a simpler life. No more sirens, no more stressful missions, only a modest home where Hoai and little Lythica awaited him. Hung began thinking about trading, maybe setting up a small stall on the market, or running a humble grocery shop. For him, such stability was not only a means of living, but also the key to keeping his family's happiness intact. At first, Lythica was not used to Hung being home so often. She felt both joy and worry. Joy, because at last there was truly a man by her side, someone who could protect her and her child. But worry, because their future still held many challenges, debts yet to be paid, a new life not fully begun. Still, both of them were steadfast in one belief: together, they could overcome anything. Then, an unexpected turn arrived. After years of absence, Lythica's foster mother returned. She appeared at the gate, frail in figure, her eyes heavy with time. That moment stunned Lythica as childhood memories rushed back, the days of being embraced, the humble meals they shared, the reproaches that had driven them apart. The woman carried only a small bag and eyes filled with untold sorrow. Lythica hesitated, her heart stirring with a swirl of emotions: love, reproach, and a longing to once again feel the shelter of a mother's care. Hung quietly stood by her side, his hand tightly holding hers, as if to give her strength. He understood that this return was not merely a reunion, but might also stir up new storms. Was she here out of love, or was there a hidden secret yet to be revealed? That evening, during dinner, the air was thick with hesitation. The faint clink of spoons against bowls, the sound of the wind whistling through the eaves. Lythica's foster mother spoke in a trembling voice, recounting the years of separation, the regrets that had haunted her for leaving her foster daughter to struggle alone. Lythica's eyes brimmed with tears, torn between the desire to open her heart and the fear of being hurt once again. Will Lythica find the courage to forgive and welcome her foster mother back into her life? And will Hung remain steadfast as they face not only the burdens of survival, but also the family secrets waiting to be unveiled? Stay tuned for today's episode to find out where their story will lead. After a long period of contemplation, Hung had tried every possible way to find a new job. He asked around among friends, sought help from old acquaintances, and even considered positions he had never imagined himself doing before. Yet, whenever he looked at the salary or working conditions, his heart sank. Stable jobs offered wages far too low, barely enough to cover daily expenses, let alone pay off his debts. On the other hand, the better-paying jobs demanded experience or skills he had never been trained for. The heaviest burden pressing on Hung's mind was still the growing debt, like an invisible rope tightening around him each day. Added to that was the old house, once the fruit of his years of hard work, a symbol of his struggles and achievements. Now, that house was no longer his, but the burning desire to reclaim it never left his heart. Each time he thought of Lythica and little Lythica, his determination deepened. Unless he won back that home, he would forever carry the weight of failure and regret. That was when Hung gradually realized that relying on the meager salary of an ordinary job would never be enough. He needed another path, one that could bring in capital quickly and generate greater income. After countless sleepless nights, he made a bold decision: to step into trade. He believed that only through trading could he turn the tide, because in business, if one could seize opportunities and endure the grind, it was possible to earn a significant amount in a short time. Though he knew the risks were great, Hung was ready to face them. To him, no risk was scarier than watching the dream of his home drift forever beyond reach. That evening, As Hoai folded Hai's tiny clothes, Hung sat quietly on the porch, gazing into the dark night sky. His mind raced with endless calculations: where to begin, how to raise the capital, what goods to trade. Yet above all, he felt a rising conviction in his heart, that if he gave everything he had, he could start over. Not just for himself, but for the small family waiting for him. After countless sleepless nights, Hung finally sat down beside Hoai to speak out everything he had kept buried inside. The dim glow of the oil lamp spilled across the porch, casting their shadows long against the worn brick floor. Crickets chirped in the garden, and the wind rustled softly through the leaves, sounds that only deepened the silence, the tension in the air. He took Hoai's hand, his gaze locked deeply into hers. His voice dropped low, heavy with unshakable resolve. I've thought about this for a long time. If my superiors refuse to grant me leave, then I'll have no choice but to quit the force entirely. I don't want to be away from you and our child anymore. I can't keep living in a constant tug-of-war between duty and family. I want to try another path, a path that can help me earn money faster, pay off the debts, and reclaim our home. I plan to scrape together some capital, buy fruit orchards, and sell them in the big markets for profit. Only trade can give me a chance to turn our lives around quickly. Hoai froze. His words cut through her heart like a blade. Memories came rushing back: Hung in his crisp police uniform, his steady eyes during patrols, the nights he was absent because of missions, the scars still etched on his hands from facing danger. To reach the position he had today, he had given his youth, his sweat, and even his blood. No one knew this better than she did. Her eyes welled with tears. She gripped his hand tightly, her voice trembling as she fought to stay calm, yet unable to hide her sorrow. Hung, do you realize? To earn this job, you endured years of hardship and training that others would never survive. I know you want to care for me, for our child, and for the house. But I don't want you to throw it all away just because of me. Once you take off that uniform, there will be no way back. You must think carefully. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She turned away, unwilling to let him see her weakness, but Hung gently lifted her chin, forcing her eyes to meet his again. He stayed silent for a long moment before speaking in a steady, heartfelt tone, each word etching itself into the still night. I know you regret it. I do too, deeply. But you and our child mean more to me than any medal or career ever could. A small house, simple meals, your laughter, and the child's laughter, those are my true ideals. If sacrifice is needed, I accept it. Hoai shook her head, her heart torn apart. She pitied him, she ached for him. Yet, under his resolute gaze, she realized his decision was already made. It was not impulsive, it was the outcome of many long nights of thought and hesitation. The small courtyard grew so quiet they could hear the wind's breath. The two sat close, their hands clasped tightly, while inside each of them churned with raging undercurrents. Hoai tried to hold him back from abandoning the police force, the pride of his life. Hung, however, was determined to leave, choosing instead the uncertain road of trade. In that moment, love and sacrifice intertwined into a storm of emotions. They did not know what the future held, only that each of them was desperately clinging to what they believed was most precious. Before Hoai's earnest pleas, Hung remained silent for a long while. He looked into her tearful eyes, sensing the worry and regret hidden in every word. He knew she wasn't only saddened by the thought of him leaving his career, but also afraid that one day he would regret giving up what he had spent his entire life striving for. He let out a quiet sigh, then gently took her hand, his voice warm yet resolute. I understand your heart. I know you love me, that you don't want me to throw away everything I've built. But listen to me. I can't go on living with such a meager salary. It's not enough to pay off our debts, and certainly not enough to reclaim our home. That house carries my blood and tears. I cannot let it slip away forever. Hung's eyes dimmed with sadness, but also burned with determination. He continued, slowly yet firmly. My superiors have spoken about transferring me elsewhere, but I don't want to go. If I leave, I'll be far from you and our child. I won't be here to protect you from whatever troubles may come. I don't want to be the kind of man who chases after his career while neglecting his family. If I must choose, I'd rather give up being a policeman than leave you behind. Hoai froze, her heart tightening painfully. She wanted to believe him, but fear still weighed heavily on her. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she whispered, voice trembling. I'm only afraid that one day you'll regret this. I know how much you love your work. I've seen the light in your eyes whenever you wore that uniform. I don't want you to give up something so precious just because of me. Hung gave a faint, weary but genuine smile. He gently brushed her hair back, his touch full of reassurance. Don't worry. I've thought this through carefully. It's not a hasty choice. I believe I can find another path, as long as I'm here with you and our child. Trust me, I'll weigh everything wisely, and I promise you, I'll make the right decision. I won't let us suffer. In the dim evening light, Hoai's tears fell again, but this time, they were no longer tears of despair. She knew he had already chosen his path. And all she could do now was place her faith in his promise, in the man she had entrusted her entire life to. That morning, Hung woke up early. After a simple breakfast, he set out on his bicycle to visit the orchards in the area and survey the prices. The red dirt road leading into the lush green gardens filled him with emotion. Before, he had only passed by without paying much attention, but today, every tree, every grapefruit seemed to carry new meaning, hope, a new path toward changing his life. He stopped at a rather large grapefruit orchard. The owner welcomed him with a kind face, though there was a hint of worry. This year's harvest had been poor. With the reduced yield, many households were forced to sell early just to recover their costs. Hung carefully observed each grapefruit tree, each leafy branch, nodding thoughtfully as he calculated in his mind. He realized this was an opportunity. With supply down, the fruit would surely be scarce at market, and prices could be driven higher. After some discussion, Hung decided to put down a deposit on the orchard at a price lower than usual. He set one clear condition: while waiting for the fruit to ripen, the owner must watch over the orchard carefully to prevent theft. The man agreed, shook Hung's hand firmly, and promised to guard it as if it were his own. Leaving the grapefruit orchard, Hung continued to visit other places to learn about different fruits. He stopped by a longan orchard, then moved on to a guava farm. Each type of tree, each harvest season became its own equation in his mind: which fruit was easier to sell, which one brought the highest profit, and where goods could be shipped farther afield. He wasn't just thinking of simple buying and reselling, he also wanted to promote local produce, bringing the fruits of his hometown to other regions, showing people that this land could also be a source of prosperity. By the time he returned, sweat drenched his body, yet his eyes shone with fierce determination. He envisioned trucks filled with fruit rolling into big markets, money flowing back, old debts gradually paid off, and the long-lost house inching closer within reach. In his mind, a new path to wealth was opening, the path of trading agricultural produce. He thought to himself, it may be hard, it may be risky, but with perseverance, I will succeed. Not only to reclaim our home, but to prove that I can give Hoai and our child a life of comfort and security. Since Hung had been by her side, Hoai's life seemed to change completely. She felt a peace she had never known before. Every morning when she opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was Hung, the man who had set aside his entire career just to be with her. That warmth spread through her, and she no longer felt lost in this world. Hung was not only there as emotional support, but he quietly shared every small burden of daily life. Many mornings, he rose even earlier than Hoai, slipping out of bed so as not to wake mother and child. He would sweep the yard, tidy the house, then go to the market to buy breakfast. By the time Hoai and little Tony woke up, steam was already rising from simple yet heartfelt dishes laid out on the table. He was patient in holding Tony, lulling him to sleep, bathing him, or humming clumsy lullabies. Though still so small, Tony seemed to feel the love in those arms. He clung to Hung as though he were truly his father. Whenever Hoai saw Hung cradling Tony, her eyes welled with tears. It was a kind of happiness she once thought she would never touch. Some evenings, after everything was done, the three of them would lie together on the small bed. Tony slept soundly in the middle, while Hung and Hoai gently held hands. In those moments, she felt as if she were living in a complete family. Hung was no longer just a man she could lean on. He had become the figure of a devoted husband and a responsible father. Within Hoai's heart, her trust grew stronger each day. Though many trials still lay ahead, as long as Hung was beside her, she knew their little family would always find peace and happiness. Hoai refused to just sit still. She knew Hung was in a difficult stage of his life, having just left his career as a policeman with lingering regret, while carrying the heavy burden of debt and the dream of reclaiming their old house. She understood that on his own, he could hardly manage everything. And so, Hoai stepped forward to share the load. Each day, while Hung was busy surveying orchard prices and arranging fruit deposits, Hoai devoted herself to selling at the market. She woke early, carefully picking baskets of fresh fruit to bring along, then spent long hours sitting at her stall. Though tiring, her heart felt lighter, for every coin she earned meant easing Hung's burden bit by bit. The sight of the two returning home together at the end of the day was simple yet heartwarming, Hung carrying sacks of newly bought fruit on his shoulder, while Hoai held the nearly empty basket she had sold. They walked side by side, chatting about the small things that had happened. Once home, they would sit down to count their earnings, smiling even though the amounts were still modest. But it was precisely these small joys that gave them the strength to carry on. On some evenings, after lulling Tony to sleep, Hung would record their accounts while Hoai sewed and listened as he shared new plans. She never objected or doubted him, only encouraged him gently. "No matter how hard it gets, as long as we're together, we can overcome it, Hung." Those simple words deeply moved him. He realized that Hoai was not just the woman he loved, but a true companion, someone willing to share every hardship and help steer their little family's boat through the waves. Though their life was still lacking in material wealth, each passing day brought happiness. Not happiness born from abundance, but from unity, from a love growing ever stronger. And it was that very love which became the greatest source of strength, helping them move forward on the challenging road ahead. That afternoon, after a long day at the market, Hoai returned home with her shoulders weighed down by the leftover basket of fruit. She was exhausted, yet her heart felt warm at the thought of Hung waiting at home so they could prepare dinner together. But just as she turned into the familiar alley, she suddenly noticed a figure standing at the gate. The woman trembled as she turned around, and in the moment their eyes met, Hoai froze. It was her foster mother, the woman she had not seen for so many years. Her face now carried deeper lines, but her eyes lit up with indescribable joy. "It really is you," the woman exclaimed, her voice trembling as she hurried forward. Hoai stood there, bewildered, her eyes brimming with tears. After all the years apart, after all the hardships, she had never expected to meet again the one who had once raised her. Her foster mother pulled her into a tight embrace, her frail hands clutching Hoai's shoulders as though afraid that if she let go, her daughter would vanish once more. All this time, I worried for you, Ca. I only heard that you were safe, but in my heart, I could never rest easy. Seeing you today, alive and well, only now can I find peace. Tears streamed down Hoai's cheeks as she whispered, choking back sobs. I'm sorry for making you worry. I've missed you so much too. But everything happened so quickly, I never had the chance to come back and visit you. The two sat down together on the stone bench by the gate, sharing their hearts. Hoai recounted the hardships she had endured, sleepless nights caring for Tony, tears shed over debts, and the arrival of Hung, the man who had stood by her and protected her. Her foster mother listened quietly, her eyes heavy with emotion, seeing how the little girl she once knew had weathered so many storms of life. My daughter has suffered enough. But thank goodness, now you have Hung by your side. I believe that with his mother gone, you will finally find true peace. Cherish this happiness, and work to build a stable home. I wish for nothing more than for you to live in peace. Those words swept into Hoai's heart like a gentle breeze. She looked up at her foster mother, overwhelmed with gratitude. In that moment, she realized that no matter how many storms life might bring, there would always be bonds of family, quiet, steadfast, and filled with love. The two of them sat together for a long time, forgetting the fading afternoon sun. That unexpected reunion not only strengthened Hoai's spirit, but also rekindled the sacred bond that had seemed to fade after so many years apart. That morning, as Hung was getting ready to survey a few more orchards, the phone in his pocket suddenly buzzed. Seeing the agency's number flash on the screen, his heart tightened. The stern voice of his superior came through the receiver, blunt and without preamble. Comrade Hung, report to the office this afternoon. We will settle your leave request. And let's make it clear, either you'll be granted temporary leave, or you must accept leaving the force, unless you agree to a transfer. Hung froze. Though he had braced himself, this decisive moment had arrived sooner than expected. He knew this meeting would determine his future, either he would gain a little more time to manage his debts and his budding trade, or he would have to let go of the uniform he had once considered his very lifeblood. On the ride to the office, his thoughts were in turmoil. The motorcycle engine droned steadily beneath him, but his mind spun endlessly between two choices. On one side, career, honor, the years of youthful dedication. On the other, family, Hoai, Tony, and the dream of reclaiming their home. The road ahead split into two paths, and each step felt as heavy as stone. When he entered the office, the atmosphere grew even more tense. His superior was already seated, face stern, eyes probing. On the desk lay a neatly placed file, the leave request Hung had submitted. The room was so quiet that the ticking of the wall clock rang sharp in the air. Hung, the superior began, you've served for many years, and everyone knows you are capable and responsible. But this cannot drag on. You must decide, accept a transfer, or leave the force. We need your answer. In that moment, Hung felt his entire life laid upon the scales. He drew in a deep breath and looked straight at his superior. His heart pounded furiously, yet only one thought echoed in his mind. I cannot be apart from Hoai ever again. So, where will everything lead? Will the new life Hung is choosing bring him the peace he has long yearned for, or will it open up yet another journey full of challenges? Will his superiors grant him temporary leave, giving him the chance to return to his post after some time, to continue serving in the place he has been devoted to for so many years? Or will all those doors close, forcing him to completely let go of the police uniform that once filled him with pride, and begin a new life, a new identity, as a tradesman, a husband, and a devoted father willing to do anything to stay by Hoai and Tony's side? The future still holds too many crossroads, too many uncertainties. But one thing is certain, whatever decision Hung makes will forever change not only his own life, but also the fate of the small family he is determined to protect. Stay tuned for the next episodes to discover Hung's final choice, and to see whether love, responsibility, and the burning desire to reclaim his old home will guide him to his destiny.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến mọi người phần tiếp theo của video về câu chuyện của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng biết thì ở trong tập trước Hùng và Hoài Ca thì hiện tại đang trở về và sống chung với nhau rồi. Thì trong tập này chúng ta sẽ đến với phần tiếp theo về tiếp tục cuộc sống của họ khi về ở chung. Thì sau khi về ở chung thì cuộc sống của Hoài Ca cũng như Hùng thì cũng diễn ra rất là êm đềm. Nhưng mà có một chút khó khăn, đó là về công việc và kinh tế của Hùng. Mọi người cũng đã biết là về công việc của Hùng thì sau khi có lệnh điều chuyển công tác đi nơi xa cách nơi ở của Hoài Ca 130 km, và nếu như mà phải chuyển công tác thì phải đi cho vòng 5 năm, thì anh đã quyết định là tạm thời nghỉ việc. Còn về kinh tế thì Hùng đang gặp phải rất nhiều khó khăn khi phải gánh trên lưng khoản nợ khổng lồ do mẹ của mình gây ra. Vậy thì liệu tiếp theo Hùng sẽ lựa chọn như thế nào để có thể tiếp tục bên Hoài Ca?